Hello, all you cool cats and kittens. I am your host, 123 Jackie B. With me today are Ollie Drennan and the amazing Tez.
Hello.
We are so glad that you guys are finally seeing us live in a way that does not have technological problems, knock on wood. I appreciate everyone's patience with my learning how to be an engineer skills. And I want to wish people who celebrate St. Patrick's Day an almost happy St. Patrick's Day. We miss, of course, we miss Jayla and Lorayne Love, aka Mark J. Freeman, but they will be back next week. So don't you fret. And let's get some ideas as to what you guys thought in general of the episode. Tez?
As I said before we got on live, this is I don't remember much from the episode other than the biggest robbery that I've seen since Shangela. And that's just not the biggest, but one of the biggest robberies in Drag Race history. Other than that, I did really enjoy the challenge. I thought it was a good quick fix that they did because obviously they couldn't have any other makeovers. And I feel like it was actually better than some of the makeover challenges that they have done in the past that I really haven't liked, like the super fan when they did, I believe was the last season, something like that. I don't know. I thought it was a good fix. And so I enjoyed it up until the elimination. So
people are asking.
I agree.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I really liked it too. I think it was a creative challenge to, like Tess says, to kind of incorporate, obviously be COVID conscious, but also it's almost as if I want them to actually have like a challenge like this, like to work with each other, alongside each other, and like swap drag aesthetics, as like a normal challenge, because I really, really enjoyed it. And there wasn't too much drama. And I thought it was a great episode because it was kind of straight to the point, whereas like this season has been dragging a little bit, no pun intended. But it's nice that it's like the ball is rolling. We're getting to the finale. We got like 5 more weeks, I'm sure, but I'm happy that it's picking up the pace again because, it's kind of like we want the stakes risen. We want to see the top 4. We want to see eliminations. But yeah, I enjoyed this episode.
I think the thing that I liked about this episode was I liked that the theme of the episode, obviously I understand that they had to make each other over because of the COVID restrictions, but I like the theme of learning something from your fellow drag queen who is your partner in this challenge and getting to know someone better and kind of like literally walking in their shoes. So I thought that was interesting because it did seem that the queens did learn something about each other and maybe about themselves too. Ronnie, who is sometimes a frequent guest host, and I know will probably be a guest host quite soon on this show again. He is in the chat room and he said that this episode made him emotional. And while I don't mean to put words in his mouth, I imagine that is one of the reasons it made him feel emotional because when Utica in Untucked was saying, I act goofy to hide some of my fears, I related to that. And I imagine there are audience members who related to that as well.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the mini challenge that wasn't really a challenge. It was let me get this. Sorry, I'm pulling up different windows. So
let me switch
positions. What was this woman's name? I'm so sorry. I'm still learning how to do 2 things at once. Okay, Char Margolis. So it was a psychic reading with Char Margolis, and she pulled out some information from some of the queens. She told, Tina that her dad was proud of her. She, I think, read the relationship between Denali and Rosé. I have to admit, there's half of me, as much as I love this kind of stuff, there's also that portion of me that's a skeptic. So I have like a half of me that's open to this and saying, wow, that would be so cool to have somebody like talk to your dead loved one and have them communicate to you. But then there's a part of me that's like, well, how did she find this out? Are we talking that scene in The Wizard of Oz where he manages to, I don't know how many of you remember this movie, The Wizard of Oz. It's like a movie that many people don't know very well, but there's this, when he gets like a little card or piece of paper from Dorothy, and that's how he gets the information on her when he's like reading information on her. So sometimes I think of that where I'm like, where are they getting this information? And I don't mean to belittle her or what she does, but that's always in the back of my mind because you're not there live, so you're not there to experience it and read the room. But what did you guys think of the whole psychic thing?
You go ahead, Ollie.
I'm like with you, Jackie. Like I totally love paranormal, like psychic stuff. I'm so into like ghosts and all that crap. But I feel like the cow thing, maybe that was true. Like she picked up the cow and Tina's dad, like that was really interesting.
Right.
Like, to me, I'm a believer, but also like maybe like the pairings. Maybe she had some producers be like, hey, those two are like to get like Rose and Denali. Like probably gave her a little bit of like tips on how to kind of like read the room a little bit, because I do believe that there are like some of those people that aren't necessarily psychic. Like not saying that Char isn't. Like I think she's some form of a medium, but yeah, definitely. So there was probably some dick in the soup, as we like to say on the show. But it was fun. They've never done this before on Drag Race.
So I agree with you, Jackie. Honestly, like anytime there is some sort of prophet or a psychic on any reality TV show, I'm always like, so with this, it wasn't anything different. Honestly, I feel that way about any reality TV show. It's just too like right, like how did you know this? I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not downplaying what they do and what they're about, but to be spot on and then the cast must be like, oh my gosh, he's reading me. Yeah, because y'all told them. That's that's just how I feel. So yeah, I'm with you on that. Like I thought it was a nice, it was different for Drag Race. I don't think they've ever had anyone come in and do anything like that. I don't think. So it was good to see. But I mean, for her to be spot on with I just didn't. I wasn't buying it, honestly.
I think for my just personal experience, I feel like for a psychic, you have to be in the room and interacting with them to be able to accept whether or not they're real. It's hard because we know how much TV can be manipulated, to really put aside any sort of skepticism and wholly accept that, especially when we, like you guys said, we always talk about dick in the soup on the show. So we're always wondering, in normal circumstances on this show, what have the producers played with? Mm-hmm. So that's in the back of our minds. So I think that was the, like Tez said, this was the struggle that I had a little bit with this. But I do like that this ultimately segued into her making the pairings. And again, we don't know whether she actually did or she didn't, but the pairings were put together in a way, hopefully, for the queens to learn something about each other. And so ultimately I did like that spin on it. So the pairings were they were Rose and Tina, Olivia and Denali, Simone and Utica, and Gottmik and Candy. What did you guys think of the pairings when they said, this pairing was to make you learn about each other or whatever? Because I don't think at all this season, have we had an episode where they actually pick out their, where they actually do what they normally do and pick their person, pick their team? I don't think we've had that this season.
I think usually Ru has been the one this season to like say, you're this pair, you're this pair. I think we talked about that the last time they had the pairings because Rose and Denali kept being paired. And I was like, is that like coincidence? But yeah.
So did you guys have any thoughts on, sorry, I'm drinking some tea. Did you guys have any thoughts on the pairings or how they might relate to each other or not relate to each other?
I was happy that Rose Tina got a pairing, because we already got like the first episode that there was like some tension between those two New York queens. And so I was really like wondering, oh, they're going to fail this week. But they actually, well, I was surprised that they weren't in the bottom, but more on that later. But like they actually did a good job of kind of like coinciding and learning from one another, I guess. And but yeah, I was definitely, they played it to a way of like thinking the winners of this week were going to do bad, which was Simone and Utica, and Utica's been in the bottom like week after week. So I was definitely in fear for Utica and Simone, and especially Simone, who's been in the top for so many times. And then basically the group that I didn't expect in the bottom was in the bottom this week, which was Denali and Olivia, because thinking beforehand, I was like, oh, they don't have drama between each other. They're going to do fine. So I was really surprised that they ultimately didn't do well in this challenge.
I think I was also surprised that Utica did well. And this is no shade on Utica. I just thought her drag is hard to translate. So I imagined in a makeover challenge that that would be her ultimate challenge, to get somebody else to embody Utica. And I think the Utica-Simone pairing worked so nicely because Simone, even though she was like, I don't know about this, you know, she's being shown some of these outfits, and there was one where you stick like straws in your mouth or something. I don't even remember. But she's all, you know, like, I think any of us would feel kind of skeptical where Utica comes with this like bizarre concept and is like, okay, you got to sell it. Simone sold it, and she, you know, it on another person, that outfit would have just looked like a paper bag or something, but she was moving in such a way that she was really complimenting what Utica's idea was. And then conversely, like Utica said that Simone's walk gave her confidence to the point where she felt that she didn't need to hide at this point behind kind of like a weird quirkiness or whatnot. I do think though that the pairing of Tina and Rosé was hilarious because their styles actually aren't that different. Like Rosé can be pretty campy. So it was just funny for me to hear Rosé just like totally reading on Tina when I'm like, are y'all that different? Really? I don't think so. But anyway, that's just my thought on that.
So I don't, as far as the pairings, I don't, I thought they were, I don't know, the only people I was worried about were Utica and Simone, like you said, just because they both have very unique drag personas, I think. I think Simone has her way. And I'm just going to say, first of all, if I was Utica, I would have been excited just because I get to do the Simone. You know, I think she delivered it. And I think that I wasn't worried for Simone because Simone, she gives me like a chameleon. She can adapt. I knew that she would be able to pull, because essentially their drags, they're not the same, but they have, like I said, a very unique drag. So with them being both having different unique styles, they're able to still pull, because both their styles require a personality to pull off that uniqueness. And so I think they were able to tap into that on both sides. I was mostly worried for also as Gottmik and Candy. Just because, not because of the size thing, because we're going to talk about that too, but I just wasn't sure, and I don't really feel like they delivered. We'll talk about that too, but I don't feel like they delivered. And that's why I feel like, okay, are we talking about the challenge now? Or are we talking about
we can talk about the challenge. We can talk about
Okay, so I'm going my little small rant. I really like the challenge a lot, like I said earlier, because I feel like if there was no other time the ladies could show who they feel they are as a drag queen, it was this episode, because they were able to basically put someone else in themselves and their drag, right? But delivery wise, I don't really feel like Candy and Gottmik delivered. Candy's rant, I did not like that rant because, you know, she's supposed to be a body positive person and she pushes boundaries, but she's basically using her size as a crutch, in my opinion. in this episode, like basically by saying that, oh, you know, I'm big and she had to put me in dragons. Like that's if you're so body positive, I don't think that it should have been something even mentioned, in my opinion. The hardest, honestly, was Simone and Utica, because she was a person of color and her drag is her person of color based. Everything she does is for, in our words, the culture. And so as you saw, you know, Utica was very uncomfortable about doing certain things with the hair. And I know me and Jayla mentioned that last week. Like I really applaud Utica on that, because she's very conscious of things like that. Regardless of what she's being put into, she knows how to you know, deliver, but also maintain a stance to where she's not being disrespectful to any other culture, any kind of way. So I love that. But I thought that they had the hardest challenge, and they delivered. Like they really delivered. Rose and what's her name? Tina. I don't know what to say about them. I did not get I didn't get Tina Burner from that. Like if that's Tina Burner, then she looks much better as Tina Burner than Tina Burner looks as Tina Burner, because I just think that, like, I've never seen her in that, so it was surprising to see her in something like that. And as far as Rose, like I just, that pairing also was odd when it came out on the main stage. Like I saw the mannerisms, but I didn't see the person. Which brings me to Denali and Olivia and Rose. I thought, I'm sorry, not Rose, sorry, Denali. I thought Olivia looked just like Denali. If Olivia went into a tanning bed in that outfit, that would be, I mean, like that would be Rose. I'm sorry, Rose would be her, whatever. But Olivia did I keep saying the name, I'm sorry. Olivia did Denali so bad. Olivia turned Denali into a 50-year-old virgin, and she was giving me sugar cane. Like, that shows to me, that shows to you and everyone else that Olivia has not quite figured out who she is as a drag queen. And that's why at this moment, I feel like she's not going to win this season, because because she put her in that, it was not a good representation. Like, I thought Denali she just looked so much older, and like, it just was not very flattering look. I didn't like it. And I'm gonna end my rant there, and I'll come back later.
Well, actually, no, I love your rant. To piggyback on that rant, I love Olivia, but you're right. There's a little bit of disconnect between how other people see her and her own self-awareness. Whereas I think it was in Untucked, everyone was saying, well, you to me are like fun and youthful, and you made Denali look old and boring, you know? And so when we were in the, I don't want to say rehearsal, but like teaching each other how to be each other sessions, you would hear the other queens say, I walk this way, I do this thing. As much as it was driving me crazy for Tina to stop Rose and say, do it over again, she was recognizing that Rose was doing moves that were quintessential Rose moves and not necessarily Tina moves. So she was rightfully identifying, I would move this way, I don't move that way. Mm-hmm. And I think Olivia maybe was less sure about that. So she was less able to firmly insist on how she moves or how she is or how she would be in drag. And so it did come off as a little bit shocking when Denali came out and seemed very old, you know, like you said, it just didn't seem, you know, you're supposed to be the queen who was wearing the fun, like spray painted shirt, dressed like youthful in a couple episodes ago. So I don't understand this. And the wig didn't seem like a wig she would wear either. It seemed like, I don't know, too long maybe.
Well, she said she kept referencing pageant. I think she looked at her as a pageant queen, herself as a pageant queen. And I get what she was going for, but it was just very flat to me. Compared to the first few episodes of Olivia, I would say okay, because she came out she's new to drag, but she gives a very glamour, like a very luxe and high, high end. I think that's her drag.
Very like musical theater. Like
Yes,
I think of musical theater with Olivia, not the pageant, which I didn't even know until this episode they brought up.
And Denali looked very cheap. Like she that plays at the amphitheater, she did not look like she booked any. She did not look. I just felt bad for her. Because it was just like, dang, you're like it's a team challenge, it's a partner challenge, and you know how these go. But usually, both teams usually do pretty bad. But I'm sorry, both individuals on the team do bad. But in this case, clearly, everyone even said the fact that everyone said Olivia is just like, boom. And it's unfortunate because Olivia, I keep saying the names, Lord, these names. Denali, you could tell like she was already defeated because she knew that going against Olivia, she was going to be going home just because she was a clear favorite and she had already had more people on her side to, wanting her to stay. You could just tell.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that.
And it makes sense. It's like a good storyline for her going into an All-Stars because I can definitely see her being an All-Star. Like, oh, I'm back because I didn't go home on my accord. I left because of my partner, So, and maybe like they're the producers trying to send her home, so like people will get mad at Olivia because, oh, I don't know what's gonna happen next week, but like, oh, like you sent her home, Anyways, I agree with you, Tez. Pretty much almost everything you said. Like, it's kind of hard. How do you judge this challenge? Do you put the entire team in the bottom, or do you pick one from each team that did bad? Like, I kind of wish they would have done that realistically. Yeah. Like, I would have said, I don't think Tina did a good job putting Rosé into Tina. Like, I didn't see Tina in that outfit. Like, hell, I can't believe I'm saying this. Put Rosé in the red, yellow, and gold. Like, it was like green and
make
red.
her look like Ronald McDonald, like she should.
Yeah.
She made Rosé look like a bootleg sherry pie. That's what I saw for.
Where's the shade button? Where's the shade button? Where's Lorayne with the shade button? And I will say that, like, oh man, Olivia did Denali dirty by putting her in that long gown. Like, you have to lip sync, maybe. Like, you should probably think of like, oh, make sure my partner has something to move in. So it just sucked because, like, I was definitely Denali definitely grew on me, and it was really sad that she was sent home, not on her accord. This was Olivia's unfortunately not being able to. You know what Olivia should have done? She should have given Denali at least a small little purse. Remember that was like her thing in the beginning, which like isn't a thing anymore. But like I was like, oh, let's trademark that, make that your merch, put that little purse. So like I was surprised she didn't do that, and like. I will say, like, I think Gottmik and Candy did a good job. I saw Gottmik on Candy, but I didn't necessarily see, like, Candy on Gottmik. I don't know, but that was just me. Like, I feel like that's something that could have been, like, controversial statement, I know. I didn't see Candy, like, Gottmik. Like, I don't know. Maybe I was just seeing more Gottmik than Candy. It just didn't read to me. I'm not saying she should have been the bottom, but
other than her face. Other than her face, there was nothing else of Gottmik on Candy, in my opinion. Like, she could have, because Gottmik is a very high fashion. She shows a lot of skin. She shows her nipples, so she got the nipples. I get that part. And honestly, Olivia's the same. No, Olivia, Lord Jesus. Candy is the same person. She likes to, push the limit. So I would have rather, if I had seen Candy come out in the most slightly revealing outfit with the white face, then I would have said, oh, that's Gottmik. But I didn't get it. I didn't see. I mean, that was a look that she did before, sure. But like you said, I also didn't see it on her. I honestly think there were only 2 tops. Everyone else should have been up for elimination. And then from that point, they could have pulled out because the bottom 2, if I had to pick 2, was definitely Olivia and somewhere over there between Rosé and Tina. Rosé Burner. They were bottom material.
This is actually, I'm just disagreeing with you, Tez, just because I just agree. I'm sorry. I actually, this was one of the few episodes where I felt, okay, if they're going to judge on teams, I did feel that everything was judged correctly. So that's if they're going to judge on teams. if they're not going to judge on teams, I do think that Tina and Olivia should have been in the bottom. But because I do think that Rosé really sold that Tina look. There were people, like you said, it's Sherry Pie. Someone in the chat, maybe it was Ronnie, said Kasha Davis. You know, this isn't not a look that the makeup was Tina. The mannerisms, Rosé had managed to get down these very Tina mannerisms, but I don't know, to me, if that look was, the dress was, I would think of as Tina. Like I would have wanted something a little bit more literal campy.
Orange, yellow, blue. I mean, I'm sorry, orange, yellow, and red. A literal train.
Yeah, I mean, she came out as a train. She came out as a horse. Like, I was really expecting something much more literal.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's just me. Let's talk about the actual runway itself. What did you guys think of Ru's look? This is one of my favorite Ru looks. I love that Ru did a nude illusion look. That was just fun.
I love the little boobies. I was like, oh, it's those boobies.
Yeah, I thought that was a lot of fun, because Ru is now playing with, like, look, I'm RuPaul, I have legs, or look, I'm RuPaul, I have like boobs. It's less the same silhouette dress that we've seen for many years.
This is the best he's looked in a long time. Like, he never looks terrible. Never looks bad. Right. But like, I can understand if he comes out, you know, naturally, I'm like, yes, you know, RuPaul. But now I'm like, yes, because it's like actually good. So I like that. Who's her designer? Is it still, what's her name? Is it it's not, is it Raja?
The makeup, but I don't know the design.
Is it Raja, or is it what's the other individual that was from Drag Race that was on her team? Plus size.
I don't remember.
Oh, I can't think of the name, but
if you guys know in the chat, let us know. I can't remember.
Yeah, I thought the team was Raja, Raven, and
was it Delta, or I'm trying to think of that season.
It was one of them. It's one of the older queens, I think, was on her team. I don't know, but yeah, she looks great.
So we can go through the looks. So first we had Tina and Rosé, and I know we talked about this a little bit, but I think they sold that one with mannerisms alone, because now that I'm thinking back on it, I don't think that Tina, other than the face, looked much like Rosé either. I expected tulle, after I had complained for so many episodes about Rosé wearing so much tulle. I expected more pink. I expected more tulle, and none of those things happened. So
I expected ruffles.
If you had a signature look up until now, I'm confused as to why it's something a little bit different. So
I have a question. So with the judging, do you think, because when I was watching, me and my best friend, he felt like they were judging based off of the mannerisms, but I kind of got the impression that they were looking at mannerisms, but they were really basing everything off of the look. So do you feel like was it a combination of both, or one or the other?
I think it had to be a combination of both. Otherwise, Rosé and Tina would have been one of the bottom, because their looks to me didn't scream Rosé and Tina, but I think they really did sell it with the mannerisms.
Mm-hmm. I feel like they were so much more based on looks, personally. Like, they were just too busy on the look. Maybe I need to rewatch it again. I only watched it once, but I kept I don't know. I feel like the mannerisms, try to do your best, but they weren't really that important. I think the looks came first, and then maybe like the second thought was the mannerisms. But yeah, I guess I have to watch the runway again, because they didn't mention the mannerisms.
So I thought that, for example, like the individual putting the other individual was being judged off of the look of the other person. But I think the mannerisms were solely on that person. I think it was a combination of both. So like, for example, like, you know, Olivia, Denali may have looked like, you know, not much, but I think they may have also judged her off her mannerisms, which kind of wasn't her fault, because that also should have come from Olivia, you know, on how more of her, because she doesn't know her. And like you said, they don't really, I think someone said in the chat, they don't really see each other when they're on the runway. other than when they're watching it back. While they're filming, they don't see what the other person does. So how do they really know that Denali does this and does this? Or unless, you say, this is what I do, which could also be a sabotage, because I think they're saying in the comments as well, do they feel like she purposely did Denali like that so that she could throw it and send her home because I don't think that's true, but if there's a little bit of dick in the soup, then yeah.
Well, Olivia, according to the chat, Olivia did do Denali a service of the dress actually had a reveal. So shout out to not Rose. Oh my God, Jose and Lewis. They said that Olivia's dress actually had a reveal, but Denali chose not to use the reveal because the song didn't have there was like no point to do a reveal in the song, I guess. But
you mean for the lip sync or on the runway?
The lip sync.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Well, they chose. I feel like they chose that song because they knew if it was something that Denali could move in, Olivia would be going home. I think they were very strategic to choose Mary Mary, which I love that song. But because they knew if it was something where it required her to move, Olivia would have been packing just because there was no way she would have won that lipstick. I'm sorry. We know Denali is capable.
No more peer loves, unfortunately.
Well, Jayla has said this in the past, that part of the dick in the soup is that when you get these two queens in the bottom, if you have a song that will favor one queen or another in one scenario or another, that's one way that you can send a queen home because you've hampered them by picking this certain song, while they're wearing a certain outfit. And I call back to Rose saying in the beginning of the episode, she was thinking, if I have to lip sync against Tina wearing this like restrictive dress, it's going to suck basically. So I think, I do think that is a consideration. What did you guys think of the lip sync in general?
Meh. I love the song. I love the song, but the lip sync itself, I feel like it was short. Like if you know that song, not saying to play the whole song, it was very short. It started, and then of course, they added these lip syncs. Like they should do better because you can watch the editing and know who's going to go home. It's okay.
Yeah, and I think the thing that stood out for me with this particular lip sync was that neither of them seemed to know the words. So you would have these clips where they would get really close up on them and they would say some of the words, but then when they did the wide shot and they were dancing around, it was like nobody was lip syncing at all. So that was just, I know that these queens get, a day or whatever to learn the lip sync or know the song, but a lot of these songs people already know. So it's just weird to me sometimes when they don't know.
Yeah. This is Mary. This is like hip gospel. So I mean, everyone doesn't know, and I don't expect everyone to know, but I guess in this case, like I think Denali and Olivia would have known this song. I mean, Denali is very much so into like culture. She likes hip hop. She likes rap. This is obviously gospel, but it has a hip hop flavor to it. If you know the song. So yeah, and Olivia, I would think they would, but I don't know. Everyone's different.
Not the best lip sync, but like I will say that I think this season has had some of the best lip syncs by far. Just because I don't know, I think there's just so much on the line, but I wasn't the best. It's hard because there's been so many good lip syncs this season already. Like Denali and Kimura, well, mostly Denali, but like there's been really good lip syncs. So this was just kind of like it was good. It was like they're both fighting. You saw them fighting, regardless of whether or not they knew the words. They were fighting.
There are types of songs on Drag Race that I feel like this is a song where they played it obviously to evoke some type of emotion, but this is not the song I would have chosen. Like if you think back to Vanjie when they did No More Drama by Mary J. Blige with that was a good song for drag and for emotion because it's like the girls can still like get into it, but this is like you don't want to do too much because it's a gospel song and it's only so much you can do other than just act like you're so like you're praising and it's just you're limited. So I don't think any of them either of them did better than the other. It's just they just wanted to send Denali home because they just wanted to send her home.
I just wish they had. I love Loni Love. She's a great judge. I wish they had like Jamie Lee Curtis on the panel this week because a Freaky Friday, or like Lindsay Lohan. Could you like? It would have been perfect. I know COVID was happening, but like, and I love Loni Love, but like that would have been amazing. They could have done the song from Freaky Friday with Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis. I know that's hard to get the rights, but like, I'm just throwing that out there. Yeah.
Lindsay Lohan, I don't think is going to be doing anything anytime soon. She's literally uninsurable. Maybe Jamie Lee Curtis.
It'd be iconic though, right? Gosh.
Yeah, they'd be like, Lindsay, how did you manage to get insured during COVID, no less? Good job. This season has felt, though, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what you guys think, but I actually do like the rotating guest judge spot this season because of COVID. It's made the season feel more intimate, you know. I mean, I don't know if you guys disagree or not, but I have enjoyed having the big stars come in the past, but in a season where we're all stuck at home watching it at home, it kind of feels like your family's like rotating in on out, you know. So
so
Ronnie,
okay.
Oh, sorry.
Well, go ahead. I had a question.
Oh, Ronnie was asking in the chat. He said, "What song would you have chosen for the lip sync?" I don't know. Like, I always have a list of songs that I would.
I want to see Diamonds by Rihanna on there eventually one day.
Yes.
Just because I would like to see something like that. If I'm gonna go like this route of like a song that has a nice little bop, but it's like also can evoke emotion, something like that. Yeah. Someone mentioned A Natural Woman. Was it Runny? Not Runny. Who mentioned A Natural Woman? Yeah, Chucky from when Latrice did it. And that when she was like playing as shit, they were pregnant. And then little Kenya Michaels was like flipping around the stage. That's that's like an example of like I am glad that both Olivia and Denali, they didn't do all that extra, because I guarantee you if it hadn't been Jan, she would have added a split in there. So I'm glad that they at least kept it with the song.
I feel like you were saying something before, Tez, and then I cut you off.
Oh, I was just talking about the
you had a question.
The issue with Candy addressing the girls on stage. How did you feel about her, you know, basically saying that who was weak, basically being defensive of Denali, saying, you know, that Gottmik looked the weakest?
I think that's Candy's MO. We talked about this in the beginning with the fight she had with Tamisha Iman, which was she can dish it, but she can't take it. And it seems to have gotten to this point where in Untucked, they understand her now, or they're friends with her now to the point where they are letting it slide. But it seems to be that same scenario. It's like one person out of 7 other people said you should be in the bottom and you freaked out. And I know this happens a lot on Drag Race where emotions are running high, and when you're out there on the stage and somebody calls you out, it doesn't feel good. But to me, Olivia handled it in such an adult and mature manner, really explaining herself and saying, I didn't want to say that I was in the bottom and I worked too hard to get here. All of these things that are relatable, but Candy just freaking out, it so turned me off, because I feel like she hasn't learned anything. There was a way she could have just said, well, I believe this person should be in the bottom, rather than saying, oh, I have the hardest and this is the this and that is the that. Well, you didn't see anybody else rehearse, so how do you know? You said, Tez, Simone and Utica were having a hard time as well. So you don't know per se if you were the person who had the hardest time.
Yeah.
I just didn't think. Sorry.
Go No, go
No,
ahead.
real quick, I didn't think Candy and can't even talk. Candy Mick, got Mick. I didn't think those two. Like, I wasn't worried about them to begin with because one, they're friends. Two, what's her face? Got Mick has already won 2 challenges. The one being the ball challenge, so she knows how to. She has a fashion degree, so like she can work with Candy's body type. Like it's fine. Like I was not worried, and they're both like to me, those two have the best makeup. So maybe work on the mannerisms, but like really wasn't. I didn't think they had that hard of a time personally, and they weren't in the bottom. So like Candy didn't need to. It made for great television, but she didn't need to like react when only one person said her name. But it was just Candy being Candy.
I just want to call out 2 people in the chat room. Bella B2 said, what did she expect Denali to say? Send me and my partner to the bottom? I mean, that's not what Denali was going to say. You know that. And then Nouvelle Cos said, the whole question is designed to stir up conflict and trouble, which we know. They ask this every season so that they have some sort of conflict in Untucked, which I was actually pleased that it ended up being not as bad as we've seen in previous seasons.
Right.
It wasn't as bad. I agree, because if you think about like with I can't think of seasons. Tyra, when her and Tati and Jujubee were like on the stage in wedding gowns, like going at it.
Yeah.
I just didn't like how she spoke to put down the others, and she spoke for the other girls, and basically saying that they had the hardest and that these individuals were weaker and stuff like that. Like, I think it's a way that you go about it, and it's fine because there's been all types of drama on this show, but I think she was just so aggressive, and I feel like that the way she spoke was for like Untucked, but clearly that's just, and that's fine. You can be the person that, you know, I'm like this everywhere I go, but it was just kind of, it just turned me. I was already turned off. It just kind of like pulled my plug out completely, you know. So I'm like, I can't even be turned back on at this point because it's just like, ew, like I just didn't get it. One person did say it, but there have been people that have been like, literally, they have said like Ollie, and then they have more of a reason to feel on the defense because, oh my God, like everyone's saying me, I may be going home. But if one person said it, and you're literally the last person on the one, I'm gonna let that go. I'll address you Untucked, and then you may get it. But on right now, I'm not gonna. I'm surprised that, I guess with the current times, that RuPaul and the judges, and even especially like what's her name, Michelle, didn't kind of get turned off by that. I feel like Michelle's face was like, whoa, because usually she doesn't really like to see. They don't really like to see girls like argue on this. They like drama, but they don't like to see it on the stage. They rather it happen in the back, and it just happened like so right there. But I guess that's why they kept Candy there. I don't know. I guess.
Ollie's saying in the chat room that he thought that Candy looked good in the Mick aesthetic, which I know you don't agree, Tez, but I thought, to me, that was the winning team. I did think that they sold each other. I thought it looked great. I mean, I like Simone and Utica as well.
I thought, yeah, Simone.
But,
I'm sorry, no, Simone and
but
Utica
I
were
personally, the thing that turns me off about Candy isn't like, Candy gets so defensive about people saying that, criticizing her looks or whatever. The thing that turns me off about Candy is that she has a negative attitude so much of the time. It has nothing to do with what she's wearing, you know.
It's as far as, and to one last thing with this, as far as Utica and Simone, I agree they should have won. That's my opinion. But the only thing that I could, if someone were to say, no, I think someone else could have won, like to where you could have given it to Candy and got Mick Jackie, is the fact that although Simone put her in that essentially was a costume that Utica was in. That was a Babs look. So it wasn't really a Simone signature look. That's just something that someone else she was wanting for. So I could see where if someone to say, well, no, I'm gonna give it to them because that really wasn't a Simone look. She's worn that. She's also, worn someone else's look. That's Halle Berry's look. So if it was a Halle Berry challenge, then yeah, but I still thought that, the sportsmanship between the two, the fact that they both read each other's style, I think that still won it for them. Definitely not Candy. Definitely. Maybe she had more white on her face. Not half of her face white, but whatever.
I do think, Tez, I think that's what, for Utica's look, to me, you're right. Like, I did think of this more as a costume than I thought of it as a Simone look, because I almost felt like I've been talking this whole time about, oh, Simone, you're giving body, like, and as much as I complain about some of these people doing the same thing over and over, well, if that's the shtick you're like known for, now in this challenge where you're trying to make somebody look like you and then not using it is bizarre to me. I almost expected Utica to be showing her midriff or having even a shorter skirt or something like that. So I think that was the only thing that threw me, because I was thinking of it more as a costume and less of as something that was signature Simone, except for signature in the fact that, like, she is representing herself and her community through that look, that I get, but I wish she would have tailored it somehow to make it more her.
Yeah, a little more, just something else. Like, I loved it. She rocked in it, but like I said, it wasn't Simone, signature Simone. So it wasn't.
All right. Any last thoughts before we go to the quote of the week or the fan of the week? The quote of the week is, I shaved my ass, which literally, I know that I wasn't too keen on the Candy rant, but that was just hilarious to me. It was like, it's like, I don't know, when you're a woman and you go out and shave your legs and no one appreciates it, and you're like, hey, I shaved my legs for this, I related to her in that moment.
I do it too sometimes as a man when I go like, like Miami a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, I don't get them. I'm like, I shave my legs or other areas.
Well, summer's coming. Get ready for summer.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I thought that was funny, and I related to her in that moment. Although there was a lot of other. Ooh, sorry.
Uh-oh.
My ring light is falling down. Here we go. There were other funny ones in the beginning of the episode, like Rose is saying, Tina's drag is really fun and expressive, and I don't like a lot of it.
But okay, wait. What? Speaking of Tina, now I did like how this is so rare. How Candy kind of slid in a little shade to Tina, if nobody caught it. Mm-mm. She was like, Tina would never look this naked and flawless as she looks. You didn't catch that? She was like, Tina would never be dressed like looking like she said slutty and flawless. And I was like, well, you know what, Candy? I have to agree with you that she would never look flawless.
I'm turning red like Tina right now. Oh my god. I'm done. I'm
done. Sorry. So I'm trying to pull up the fans of the week. You guys, please like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Mark has the running count on the subscribers, so I don't have that right now, but we're trying to get to 300. I don't think we're quite there yet. But we love it when you guys comment, and if you comment, you could be the fan of the week. So fans of the week this week are Mr. Michael J.A., who loved Jayla's lip and hair in the last episode. Her lips were brought to you by Bat Me Cosmetics. A Disco Queen, who's bummed that she can't ever watch live, but we still appreciate you, even if you're not able to watch live. We understand that we have fans in all kinds of different time zones. Capelorod, I'm sorry if I pronounced that horribly, but says big hugs from Taiwan and happy that he found us all. So thank you guys for tuning in. Keep commenting, and you could be one of the fans of the week, and comment either on our DRTV LA YouTube channel, or we're also on iTunes and Spotify as well. So any news and gossip? I know that Ronnie mentioned that Liza Minnelli turned 75. So happy birthday, Liza Minnelli.
Today?
I actually don't know if it was today. I thought it was yesterday.
It is speaking of Olivia, it's Olivia Lux's birthday today. She just turned 27.
Pie Day. Her birthday is Pie Day.
Right?
Liza's
a
birthday
nice
was Friday. Liza's birthday
I think
is
that's
Friday.
it for me. Okay.
I have some news.
Yes.
I'm gonna shave my legs tomorrow.
Nice.
No, I'm not. I'll shave it next week actually, because I have to go to San Diego next week. But yeah.
Fun. Sounds like fun. And then my news is check out Ronnie's podcast. He will be guest hosting sometime in the future to plug his podcast as well. So you can check him at Ronnie Media page on all platforms, I think. Maybe just iTunes or Twitter.
And Ronnie is not candy for the chat.
Ronnie is definitely candy, and at this point, I am worried. No, I'm not.
Shady chat. I love the shady chat.
And then I'm going to be guest hosting sometime in the future on my friend's Buffy podcast, which the first two episodes, I think, will drop this week. It's called The Watcher's Diaries. Two LGBTQ friends of mine discussing Buffy and all things Buffy. So tune into that. Not guesting on the most recent episodes, but sometime in the future, I'm finishing my Drag Race role and then rolling into that. So that's why I'm putting all my efforts on this right now for you guys.
Okay.
All right. Any other thoughts, ideas,
awesome,
questions in the chat, things that you feel like you need to discuss? Ronnie said he would sleep with Candy, so we we know where he lies on that. This is my favorite admittance this season.
Well,
Tez will not sleep with Candy. There you go.
I sleep with Candy. Oh my God. Okay.
And then someone said, did you guys talk about Michelle shading Santino? We've done our share. I actually don't know if Ollie, you or Tez, you guys weren't on the podcast when Santino was on, but we got in a lot of trouble for shading Santino during seasons when Santino was on. So I have stopped all Santino shading because I'm just letting Santino live his life elsewhere. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know you guys got.
Yes, we said some unflattering things about him, and we decided to just forget about him because we didn't want to be mean anymore. So that's all I'm going to say. You can go back to the prior videos and see it, but I've evolved as a person, I suppose. Maybe not. I don't know. Well, you can find me at 123 Jackie B on all platforms. And Tez, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Stupid Wild Tez, or my blog and YouTube channel at Lorayne Blog on Instagram as well. And Twitter, like I say every week, if you're really looking for some trouble, DM me.
Oh my gosh, somebody watched our prior season. Bella B wrote Dobby. Yes, we used to call Santino Dobby. That was the nice name we called him.
Not from Harry Potter.
He was called Dobby from Harry Potter, yes.
Now he's he who shall not be named.
Now he's he who shall not be named, yes.
You can follow me at Ollie Dreamer on all social media platforms.
Thanks, you guys. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.